to thank you all for being here. I'm the Dean of the College of Engineering, Technology, and Sciences. This academic year, our first Dean Speaker Series for the year. Let's give all of ourselves a hand. We have two talks today, and the first is we're really excited and proud of this team that we sent out to Houston for the zero gravity flight experiment. So they had to devise an experiment and go up in a plane and do the zero gravity thing that they'll talk to you about. Very exciting for them, a new experience for them. Hopefully they'll be able to share that with you. And then we have our keynote speaker, who I will introduce more once the time comes. So at this moment, Dr. Gilmore, if you'd like to come and just talk about the team and introduce them and let them get started.
All right, good afternoon. How are you doing? We are trying to set up, but unfortunately we're having some technical difficulties. However, everything is going to work out in our favor, I do believe. And in the meantime, each one of us at one point in time in our life thought about what would it be to be an astronaut? What does the astronaut experience as they go up in space? And the NASA Reduced Gravity Education Flight Program, which 5 of our undergraduate students had the opportunity to participate in, provided a unique academic experience for undergraduate students to successfully propose, design, fabricate, fly, and evaluate a reduced gravity experiment of their choice over the course of 4 to 6 months. The overall experience included scientific research, hands-on experimental design, test operations, and educational and public outreach activities. Who would have ever thought that 5 students from Alabama A&M University would be able to board a NASA aircraft and perform such an experience? And they are now part of an elite group. Tangela Hatch, would you please stand? She's from Fairfield, Alabama, and she is a chemistry major. Another important thing about Tangela is that she was the salutatorian of her high school class. Ishudania McGee. She's a physics major, and she's currently a sophomore, and she was from Haynesville, Alabama, and she was valedictorian of her high school class. Ariel Dowdy, a mechanical engineering major from the south side of Chicago. Michael Wallace, a mechanical engineering major from Tuskegee, Alabama. And Cal King, a business interested in everything from Westwood, New Jersey. And we all had the opportunity to experience reduced gravity. And Mr. Vines, he'll stop snapping pictures. He was our other faculty advisor, which assisted us with this project. This was truly an experience of a lifetime, and I present to each of you the AAU NASA Reduced Gravity Flight Team.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tyler and I am an international business major with various interests in a lot of field projects. My vision is to connect industry with academia by building a technological advancement that will be able to resource, develop, and transform underdeveloped third world economies. First and foremost, I want us all to thank Dr. Gilmore for the great introduction and all of the people that played a part in this captivating opportunity that goes down in Alabama A&M University history. Our primary goal was to determine whether or not the thickness of freely suspended liquid crystals, which could be measured under reduced gravity conditions. We accomplished this by designing a structure that can withhold the different gravity levels while still maintaining the stability of our equipment and ensuring the safety of all of our students. From our acceptance into the program in June to the first feeling of the zero gravity environment, this exhilarating educational experience certainly produced life-changing results. We have compiled a video that takes you all through an adventure of the planning, the preparation, and the performance at heights that only the elite have been able to experience. Again, my name is Kyle King, and we are truly all thankful for this great opportunity. 5 scholars selected, 5 months of preparation, 1 ultimate task. Thank you.
I'm a junior chemistry major with a minor in biology, and I serve as team lead. I basically cover the background, hazard analysis, and MSDS, and whatever else needed work done.
Good morning. I'm Michael Wallace, mechanical engineer, and with this project I worked on the structure analysis. Concerning the structure analysis, we had to design a structure that can hold our equipment, all of our components, onto this one surface, bolted down to the aircraft floor.
My name is Kyle King, Jr., chemistry major, and on this project I worked mostly on the equipment description. And mainly on the equipment description, I handled all of the actual equipment that is going to be on the rig going into the reduced gravity.
Yeah, I'm a junior and I'm a mechanical engineer and technology major. And on this project I did the experimental description, which basically explains the liquid crystal that was used, which was an 8CV, and also the procedures of the experiment.
I'm Isha Daniel McGee, physics major, and in this project I did the electrical analysis. In the electrical analysis, I gathered all the electrical components and put them on a power strip.
bouncing. Oh, you right. You don't have to put no foot there. Don't do it too hard. You're going to go all in. Showing up. Hey, I'm Michael Wallace. I'm a junior from Alabama A&M. I'd like to shout out God and my mom, most importantly.
My name is Angela Hatch, a junior from Alabama A&M from Fayetteville, Alabama, and I want to thank God and Dr. Gilmore for putting this thing together. And NASA.
And we measuring film, layer, thickness of liquid crystals under reduced gravity. Right now,
I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly.
I left. I said it.
Yours is cut.
See, I was on the verge of breaking down.
1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for mankind. Oh, that looks beautiful from radio.
Both proud and amazed what they were able to accomplish in a short amount of time, and all of the amazing things that they did. And I believe one of the students, this was her first time flying. So if you can imagine your first flight, the flight to go out to Houston, but then to go on a plane like that. But the courage that they showed, as well as the ingenuity to solve a number of problems that popped up to make this happen during the time they were out there. All of the work they had to do on top of doing their schoolwork and maintaining their great grades and everything. We are really, really proud of that entire team. So I just want to express that again. Now, we come now to the point where we're going to have our keynote speaker. And you have his bio written in here, and you can read that. But what I can tell you about Dr. Del Smith is that I know him both as a friend and as a colleague from my time at Rochester Institute of Technology. Dr. Smith is a valued faculty member there, well respected throughout the community, and an entrepreneur, someone who is innovative and creative, but so much respected in the community that the new mayor of the city tapped him to be the commissioner for planning and urban development in the city. And so he just recently took this position over in January. And he's also has a position as a faculty member at Rochester Institute of Technology. Has a wealth of experience, a wealth of background, credentials, the whole 9 yards. So we are really happy to have him here. And I think that this is really a fitting opportunity for him to speak because of the experience he has both kind of bringing together business and technology together under kind of an entrepreneurial umbrella is something that really would light a fire here for us as well. So without any further delay, I'd like to present to you Dr. Del Smith.
Well, good afternoon to everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Fantastic. I want to first tell you how impressive it is for the Reduced Gravity Educational team to see what you put on. That was very, very impressive. I can tell you in my 7 years at RIT, I don't know if I've seen a group of students do something quite as impressive as what you've done in that experience, so you should to be commended again, please. I was sitting there thinking how great, I would love to have that experience of reduced gravity until I saw what the plane did. And then I said, I got to fly back to Rochester tomorrow. I would prefer not to go through any reduced gravity on my trip back, but it's great. You know, speaking of experiences, I want to thank the, your Dean Glenn here for the invitation. He mentioned about us being colleagues and friends, and I'll go a step further and say I definitely consider Chance Glenn to be a mentor of mine. There's been many times where I've had to seek his advice and his input, and he has never failed to provide some very valuable input. So I appreciate the invitation. I also want to appreciate the invitation extended to me by President Eugene of the university here, as well as Provost Wims. The time I've been here, they've been nothing but gracious to show me this beautiful campus. So I'm very excited to be here. Now, you'll understand when I give you a little bit more information about me that I'm no stranger to Alabama. I've got some Alabama roots. Although you may not hear my accent too much, I'm a Southern boy. I'll let you know that. So although I'm from New York, don't hold that against me, okay? All right, please. So I want to kind of start off with you. The topic of this talk is transforming technical knowledge into a successful business enterprise. But before I get into that, I want to talk to you about tadpoles. Yeah. Okay. A few people said, what's the connection here? So I discovered something a couple years ago. I was watching TV. They were talking about this tadpole, and it's a wood frog tadpole. And what they found is that when this tadpole is in a pond or a source of water with predators, and the stress levels go up with this tadpole, they release hormones in the water. And when the other tadpoles pick up this hormone, they actually have a genetic DNA reaction to it, and their tails grow longer. So the scientists were able to conclude that environmental factors had the ability, it was the first time they were able to see environmental factors have an immediate impact on DNA for a creature that could be seen in a physical outcome. So again, these tadpoles, in the presence of predators, grew a longer tail. When these tadpoles were not in the presence of predators, they had a short tail. And why do I bring that up to you? Because they call this phenotype plasticity was the term. Phenotype plasticity. And I thought it was interesting because I'd always had this thought process that entrepreneurs had a DNA. There's a DNA specific to entrepreneurs. And my thought process was that many of us had this DNA in us, but it probably took environmental factors for this to be triggered in many of us, for us to see that turn into them being successful entrepreneurs. So in planning for this presentation, I've never talked about this topic before, entrepreneurial DNA. So being the entrepreneur that I am, I like taking risks, I like uncertainty, I like trying new things, I like being innovative. So I'm going to try and see if we can identify this particular thesis as applicable here. So I wanted to put myself in your shoes. Now I see a lot of faculty members here, and I'm very appreciative of that. But as I was thinking about this talk, I was thinking about putting myself in the shoes of a young, vibrant Alabama A&M student, particularly engineering student. Raise your hand if you fit that category. Raise your hand if you're a young, I guess I shouldn't say young because you could be older. If you're an Alabama A&M student. Okay, all right, so, all right, a few people. Not as many as I thought here, but enough. So, you know, I wanted to put myself in your shoes and say, if I was standing here, what bit of information, what bit of knowledge could I impart on you that would help trigger that entrepreneurial DNA that might exist in you? You see, I don't think this message is for everyone. And particularly those that raised your hand, I'm going to be very blunt with you and tell you that I don't even think the message I'm about to say is for all of you that raised your hand. We've all heard of Du Bois and the talented 10th. Raise your hand if you've heard about the talented 10th from Du Bois. Okay? Du Bois said that the talented 10th is the idea that we don't have enough resources to go and to spend on everyone. And that if we look at our population, if we look at a 10th of our African American population, what we find is that there was a 10th of our population that had the greatest potential for success in terms of leadership and leadership attributes. And to add to what French said, Du Bois said that what we want to do is we want to focus on those talented 10th, focus our resources on those talented 10th, and instill in them this concept that as they become successful, that they need to reach back and grab another 10th of the individuals and help them along the way. So by doing that, we have the greatest impact on the greatest number of people. And so I bring that up because I don't think this message is for everyone. I think that there is a talented 10th that exists within those that are here. And specifically, those that have an interest in entrepreneurship, I believe that there's this concept called entrepreneurial 10th. Now, that comes from me. I'm about to trademark that. I actually got a book that I'm writing that emphasizes that point, so nobody go and steal that as of yet, okay? But I call it the entrepreneurial 10th. And it's my idea that among particularly African Americans that have an interest in entrepreneurship or have the capability to be entrepreneurs, that there's about a 10th of them that are going to be very, very successful in their endeavor. And so what I'm hoping to do is to talk to you a little bit about what I believe needs to be triggered in your entrepreneurial DNA for those that exist to have the potential to be that entrepreneurial 10th. So if you're sitting there, if you're one of the entrepreneurial 10th sitting there, you're saying, okay, I read the bio, I heard Dean Glenn say a few positive words, but who is this guy really? So I want to take a minute just to kind of share with you a little bit of my background and where I come from. I said I had some connections to Alabama and that I'm a Southern boy. I am. I was born in Jackson, Georgia, in a little small place that they just refer to as Butts County. I was so impressed when your provost knew where Butts County is. Do you know where Butts County is? No, the name sounds funny, right? Okay, well, I won't take it personally. Okay, okay. But I was born a little bit south of Atlanta. I spent some time. I graduated from high school in Atlanta. One of the defining moments for me, I think, in my life is that our high school got some money from the state to build a technology wing on the side of our high school. And at that point in time, until that point in time, I wandered all through school. Didn't have the best grades, just maintained good enough grades to keep me out of trouble with my parents. But when they built this technology wing onto this high school, it exposed me to a lot of things that I was very interested in: CAD, computers, computer design, and I was able to find something to connect with. So much that when the time came around for me to choose a career path, and I had college there in front of me, I chose the military. I served 4 years in the Army, and the reason for that is because at the age of 17, I had my son, who actually turns 20 this Saturday. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're saying, too young, good looking to have a 20-year-old. I would agree with you on that statement. I'm just trying to interject humor. So some people said, not funny. Stick to the tadpole story. All right. The point is, I needed to support my family. I needed to support my son. And so the military was the best option for me. And I remember being there at the recruiter, and he says, okay, we're going to have you repair missiles, or we're going to have you, do some things in the infantry. And I had a mentor that told me, make sure you get a job that you can use when you get outside of the military. And so I said, I don't like those positions. And he says, well, I don't have anything else for you, kid. And I said, okay, I'll walk. He says, wait. He goes, well, tell me, what are you interested in? And that was the first time in my life that somebody had asked me a question that I knew the answer to that was going to have an impact on what I was going to be spending at least the next 4 years with. And I said, I like working on computer systems. And he says, He punched some things in the computer and he says, we got a job as a systems analyst for you. So I had the opportunity to go through the military. They provided me with some of the best training that I think exists in terms of teaching me this trade of being a systems analyst. I served 4 years, had some great experiences there. I went in the military to see the world. I entered from Georgia. I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training. I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for my advanced training, and I ended up in Fort Rucker, Alabama for my permanent duty station. So about the only part of the world I saw was LA, and other people know that as Lower Alabama. All right. So that's kind of my Alabama history, kind of started that. And so exited the military. When I got out of the military, I actually moved to Houston, took my family to Houston. I worked in the healthcare information systems field for a couple years, applying my skills that I had learned in that particular setting. So Houston, I have some connections with Houston as well. Great place. I've actually been to the Space Center in Houston several times. Got a telephone call one day. I was making good money, and a gentleman from Alabama called me up and said, listen, we're starting up a technology company. We want to know if you want to be part of it. And because this person was a friend, I said, I'll get on the plane and come there and listen to you just to, be nice and cordial. I came in. They were knocking down walls. He flipped over a cardboard box, 2 folding chairs, and says, let me give you the vision of the company. And after he finished giving me the vision of the company, he says, listen, I can probably pay you half of what you're getting paid right now, and I can only guarantee your job for maybe 6 months if we don't make this thing work. At that point in time, my entrepreneurial DNA was triggered. Didn't really know I had it in me, but there was something about that moment right there, the uncertainty, the risk, the opportunities that existed that triggered something with me. And I remember getting on a plane, going back to Houston, thinking to myself that I had to tell my wife that we were going to move to Alabama, and that didn't go over too well. But needless to say, we shifted, we moved to Alabama. I helped start up this company. It grew to a pretty significant size. We were actually in Dothan, Alabama is where we started the company. Anybody know where Dothan is? Lower Alabama, LA. Yeah, I know you know, Chance. After a couple years, I went to Birmingham and opened up a division in Birmingham. We needed a larger presence for our clients because we kept saying Dothan. They said, where's that at? So we need to have a little bit bigger city. Birmingham was it. Had some success there, and then all of a sudden the bubble hit. Anybody here remember the 2008 technology bubble? I see the older people saying yes. The younger folks are saying, no, I don't know what I was doing in 2008. So at that time, similar to what we've been through, all technology spending kind of came to a halt. We wanted to do a retrenchment policy, let go of some people. They want me to come back to Dothan. I said, nah, Houston, Dothan, Birmingham, I'm going to stay where I'm at. And so at that point in time, I decided I was going to strike out on my own if I was going to strike out with my own company. I started that company. We were a managed network service provider. What we did basically at the time is we provided computer support remotely for companies. And that's not uncommon. Today is outsourcing. Today is what you really refer to it as. We did that. Was able to grow the company to a significant size. The personal part of this story is that all of a sudden I found myself being a single father with 2 boys, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old at the time. And trying to grow a business with 2 kids, being a single parent, is a challenge. And I know many of you know about the challenges of being a single parent. So I said, well, what job could I do where I'm involved in business or around business? It's a pretty easy job, pays good money, not very demanding. I said, oh, I could be a professor. That one didn't go over too well with the professors, just so you know, just so you guys know. But anyway, that was the thought at the time, right? Because I looked at my professors for my bachelor's degree and my master's degree and said, wow, this is the best job in the world. And so I sold my company at the time, and I went to University of Alabama to pursue my PhD. So I have a PhD in management, the School of Business from the University of Alabama. So I finished with my degree. I get on the market. I'm this guy that's got this technical background, very applied, entrepreneurial. I'm in academia. I had to find a place that would accept me. And a good place that really fit the mold was the Rochester Institute of Technology, a very applied school, a technical school. And so I came on there. And I remember when I interviewed for that position, I said to the dean, I said, when I come here, I just want to let you know I'm going to be starting a company when I come here. And he said, new professors right out of PhD programs don't start companies. They do their research so they can get tenure. And I said, well, I just want to let you know that's my plan. I want to be upfront and honest with you. And he said, okay. And when I left the interview, I didn't think I had the job. But, you know, one of those things, they really valued diversity at the time. And so I used that to my benefit and came into this position. And I did just that. After 4 months of being there, I started up my company. And the idea was to grow this company to a significant size. You see, my research is all about minority business growth. And I look at the number of minority businesses that are out there that are making significant revenue and have significant growth. And I've spent the past 7 years trying to research and find out how they've gotten to that point. And so clearly I wanted to apply that knowledge that I gained in my own business and see if I can accomplish that as well, and that's what I did. So grew the company to a pretty significant size, and in 2012 we were purchased by a Canadian company out of Toronto. So I had a pretty nice exit strategy at that point in time. At the same time, I received tenure at RIT, and I had been tapped to be the director of the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship. So the idea was Rochester is a fantastic city, but we have some very distressed communities, some very distressed areas. Our urban population is having some challenges. And so the idea is, how can we use entrepreneurship and the opportunities that entrepreneurship creates to help address some of these distressed areas. And so I was the director of the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship. As Chance mentioned, I've recently been tapped to be the Commissioner of Economic Development for the City of Rochester. So we have about $1 billion, and that's a billion with the B, worth of projects that are going on in the city that is my responsibility with my team to make sure that we deploy those resources in a way so that we have a significant impact, a positive economic impact for our city. So I'm very excited about that opportunity. So that's my life story. Try to condense it down. I don't think it was too long. If I was going to say it again, I'd remove some of the jokes out, but you know, it is what it is. So, you know, the question, you might be sitting there right now thinking, okay, you tell me this life story. I'm one of these entrepreneurial tents. You've got my attention. Tell me something that will benefit me when I leave this room. So I'm going to see if I can do that. So the idea is, I've been in this world for 37 years now. And I don't want to emphasize that because I know to our youth, 37, I seem like an old man at this point. But I bring up the point of being 37 at this point because as time gets on, I really like this stage that I am in life because I start to see things clearly. I start to connect dots. And my son just a few weeks ago was asking me, he says, "Dad, what do you attribute your success to?" And I said, "Why do you want to know?" He said, "Because I want to climb the ladder faster and higher than you." And I said, okay. After I get over the initial shock, and I really realized that was a good thing, and I thought about it, I said, well, so I can tell you two things. I said, you want to make sure you get results and you treat people right. And I think that has been one of the cornerstones to my success that I've had over time is to get results and to treat people right. But the only reason I kind of know that that's the way it is right now is because I've had a chance to really look back over my past and then start to connect some of those dots. But I want to specifically kind of go back to my topic with you is about how do you convert this technical knowledge into a successful business enterprise. How many engineering students do we have in here? Somebody in the engineering field, raise your hand. Okay, raise your hand if there's an interest on your part in taking your knowledge to start a business. Okay, I saw a few hands go up really quick, and I saw some so-sos. It said, depending on whatever I say, it's going to help decide what you do, right? All right, so I'll say this. Here's what I'll say to you, those people that raise your hand. Being technically proficient and good in a technical area is not enough. Okay, I'll say it again. Being technically proficient and good in a technical area is not enough. In the world of business, to be able to convert your technical knowledge into business knowledge, being the best technically will not get you to success that you need, okay? And the reason being is because you probably heard this before. There's more to business success than what you actually do, right? In terms of whatever the intellectual property is or whatever the service is that you're providing. You have to combine that with something. And you know what you really need to combine that with is some business knowledge, okay? I'm really big. I like to see universities, and I think there's some discussion here. It has been going on about engineering schools partnering with the business schools so that they can make sure that the technical students, their engineering students, have business knowledge. If you haven't already done that by now, if you haven't already enrolled in some business classes, I highly encourage you to do those things. But I'm going to tell you something a little bit different, right? So I teach entrepreneurship mainly, and taking classes in accounting and financial analysis and how to put together business plans is really good. You need those classes to form a foundation. But so much about business is not about can you read a financial spreadsheet or can you look at a financial model. So much about business is how you interact with others and how you interact with people. So things in business classes such as organizational behavior, such as leadership, negotiations, selling tactics. These are things that if in your situation, your place right now, if you're trying to convert your technical knowledge into a successful business enterprise and you're trying to make the best use of your time while you're here at Alabama A&M, those are the type of classes or the type of books or the type of people who have knowledge in those areas that I encourage you to talk to get more insight from. You know, you can always find individuals in the business school who love to play around with financial spreadsheets. And what I've learned over time is that if you offer them the right incentives, i.e. pizza, free food, they'll be very willing to sit down with you and help you convert your technical knowledge into a successful business plan, or to help you understand the financial projections that are associated with that. So again, I say get that business knowledge to go along with that. The group here, when they had their presentation, one of the things you talked about was teamwork, right? You talked about hard work and working hard. And when I think about what it is that I did in order to convert my technical knowledge into a successful business, and what I think you need to do as part of the entrepreneurial 10th, is you have to have some emotional hardiness and you have to have resilience. You're going to get people to tell you no very, very often along your journey. You know, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be looking for people to get on board. You're going to be looking for resources, and wherever you turn, those resources aren't going to be there, and those people aren't going to be there for you. Now, what you're going to do, because you're part of the entrepreneurial 10th, is you're not going to say, I give up. What you're going to do as part of the entrepreneurial 10th is you're going to say, I'm going to use whatever resources I have next to me to create something from nothing. And a lot of times when I talk to people and they ask me, what is the definition of entrepreneurship to you? When I think about it, I say it's creating something from nothing, or creating something from very little. Not a lot of people can do that, but that's something that you're going to have to do. I'm reading a book right now called The Mastery by Robert Greene, I should say, and he's the author of the book, The 48 Laws of Power. Maybe you've heard about that book before, but there's a quote I'll read you. He says, in our culture, we tend to equate thinking and intellectual powers with success and achievement. In many ways, however, it's the emotional quality that separates those who master a field from the many who simply work at a job. Our level of desire, patience, persistence, and confidence ends up playing a much larger role in success than sheer reasoning power. Now, I wasn't the smartest guy out the gate, okay? My grades in the high school would surely confirm that point. And when I look at what I had to do, or what I did to be successful with converting this technical knowledge that I had been given by the military and converting it to a successful business, in addition to understanding about business, one of the things I had to do is understand how to have emotional hardiness and resilience. There's a lot of people that said, how can a 25-year-old be the executive vice president of a technology company? Okay. Or a lot of people that said, how can a 27-year-old start a company and grow it and sell it for millions of dollars and be a success in that way? That was hard work. Most of my mornings, they start about 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's required, I believe, and the things that you would have to do in order to be successful in business. That's emotional hardiness and resilience. Okay. But I want to tell you one other thing here. And that is, you have to find really great people to serve as mentors, to serve as people who can guide you along your way. You can't do this alone. You have to have great people to help you be successful in life. In my life, I can turn to many people. Dean Glenn is one of those individuals that I've turned to along the way and sat down with and said, excuse me, what advice do you have to give to me? And I've had great people along the way who have sat down and taken the time to provide that advice to me. And I seek that out. I seek it out actively. Anywhere I go, every chance I get, I try to identify individuals that have a vested interest in me and they want to see me succeed, and I seek them out. I sit down with them. I do that to this day. I've yet to stop trying to be successful, and I do this to this day. So as you go about trying to take this technical knowledge that you have, and it's just technical knowledge, and I don't want to downplay it. It's great, but it's technical knowledge. But if you're trying to convert that to a successful business, you know, you're going to have to figure out a way to get that business knowledge. You're going to have to figure out a way to find that emotional hardiness and resilience that you have in you in order to be able to push through all the no's that you're going to inevitably get along the way. You've got to get results. At the end of the day, you've got to get results. All the activities and all the work in the world doesn't equate to getting results. You've got to treat people right along the way. That's critical to building a team. And at the end of the day, you have to make sure you have good mentors and people to guide you. And I think you're very, very fortunate here at Alabama A&M with the resources that you have to be able to find people like that along the way. Whenever I speak to groups like this, people will come up to me and say, can I get your business card? Can I get your business card? Can I get your business card? And, you know, I freely hand them out. And you know why I freely hand them out? Because I have very, very few people that actually follow up with me and say, can I get more guidance? Can I get more insight? Do you mind talking with me a little bit more? Those that do, I categorize them as the entrepreneurial 10th. And those are the individuals, and I've had some of them that I've kept up in touch with who have been very, very successful in their lifetime. So you're sitting there, you're saying, okay, I'm an entrepreneurial 10th. You told me all these great things. What do I do now? What comes next? There's a great book, I'll tell you. It's called The Art of the Start. And if anybody's interested, I think it's worthwhile to write down. I see Kyle writing it down right now. I know Kyle is part of his entrepreneurial 10th. There's no doubt. Kyle, the author of this book is Guy Kawasaki. Guy Kawasaki, and the book is The Art of the Start. And Guy Kawasaki is an easy book. And he basically says the first thing to do if you're an entrepreneur is to get started. The first thing to do is to get started. I don't know if it's the right step. I don't care if it's the right step. You may be needing to go north and your first step is south, but you need to take a first step. And if you're relying on others to line up everything for you along the way before you take that first step, you probably aren't part of that entrepreneurial tent. So whatever you need to do, get going with it and start learning along the process as you go. Okay? So that's what I want to leave you with. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. I hope I've been able to instill a few bits of wisdom and advice that may be of value. The part that I like the most about coming to talk to a group like this is the opportunity for people to ask me questions along the way. So hopefully I have a lot enough time to be able to do that. And so as long as you don't ask me anything personal, I'll answer any question that you have. And I think the question is, you've got this academic experience, you've got this industry experience, how do you use those things together to be successful in what you do? I think the academic world provides you a lot of value. It provides you the opportunity and the ability to gather information, to analyze that information, to be able to succinctly communicate that information, to disseminate that knowledge. And I think those are all valuable traits that you can have as an entrepreneur in the case. Sometimes when I talk about just acting, just go, you'll find purely entrepreneurial types, sometimes they'll go without good information, right? Or they'll go without doing their homework and their research. And I think the background of having academic and industry experience allows you to take action, because you know action is important, but you know how to take action after collecting some information that you think will help guide you in the right way. So I think they're very, very valuable. To me personally, I think that those are the best entrepreneurs, and I actually think that those can be also the best academics, people that have both experience, both sides. How do you find your niche? I can tell you how I found my niche. You take an action, you do something, you go out on a limb, and then you kind of evaluate and see how it fits for you, right? And then if it fits and it feels good, then you kind of dig deeper in that area right there. And you keep just kind of taking an action and doing assessing. And at any given time, if you feel like you're not in the right place or you're not moving in the right place, that may be an indication to you that that's not your niche, and you need to make some modifications to it. But I would have that niche be determined by you and not by others. I see that a lot. Other people try to determine what your niche should be. Let you be the person to determine what that is. So I was an engineer, very knowledgeable about Microsoft networks and communication networks, wireless networks. And so what I did when it was a fairly new concept, you know, I really understood that. Became a partner with Microsoft and with Cisco as well. And we would go into infrastructure, the buildings, the hospitals, and libraries, and we'd set up wireless infrastructure. And back in the day, walk into a library that had labs and computers all set up and say, hey, wouldn't it be great if you had a wireless infrastructure here? And they would be like, why do we need that? You see our 50 computers lined up against the wall, all plugged into the wall. And so to that point, I never was one to create something new. I was one to take something that was working and figure out how to package it and present it in a way to build, to build a successful company. So you got the drive, and they got the technical know-how and experience. You have the drive. They have the technical know-how. Okay? My point there being, work together, get together, right? You'll see some executives and CEOs and entrepreneurs of very successful companies that they couldn't tell you really how the people in their team go about doing what they do to provide value, right? But they know how to motivate people. They know how to identify the right team and bring them together. They know how to understand their clients' pains and their pain points to be able to provide solutions to them. And so your drive and your passion has a lot of value, but alone, right, that doesn't produce a whole lot. So you really got to put together a team. And the idea of what you have sitting over here, these folks, you guys can be very, very successful and make a lot of money together. Okay. I think if you find somebody to shadow, to mentor, is a great way to do that. I'm a big fan of the idea that we learn by doing or watching others. I mean, at the end of the day, that's social learning theory. And you can read lots of books, you can look at lots of PowerPoint slides, but at the end of the day, either you've got to go out there and start the business yourself to learn, and unfortunately, a lot of times you're going to learn by not doing things the right way, or you have the opportunity to find somebody who's currently doing what you're doing, somebody who is a technical person that has crossed over into that field of business, and watch them, talk to them, understand what they're doing. There's a lot of examples of those around, and I think that's going to provide the greatest benefit and value to you. You're welcome. If I understand the question correctly, it's the idea about how to stabilize your team and keep your team on board, even though it may mean that the things you have to do, either give away equity with the business or you have to give away profits to your employees.
You do everything possible to stabilize their jobs.
Sure. I've had times where I've had to pay my employees early on in the process, and to be very honest with you, the day before that I was pawning some of my own personal items to make sure that they got paid on Friday without even having any idea at all of what took place. I do agree with your statement. And I'm giving you an extreme example because the idea is without my people, without the people working for me, being motivated to work at 100 or 110%, I don't have any chance of having a successful business. So I'm going to do whatever I can. Now, after we got out of that stage and we started having stable revenue and stable profits, then I sit down with my team and we start talking about bonuses. We start talking about percentages of equity. And at the end of the day, the more I can incentivize them to work harder, 30% for me with a team that's giving 110% is going to produce more than me maintaining 90% and a team that's only producing 50 or 60%. So that's kind of the way I look at those ratios. We've seen it time and time again, people who choose majors and without having the experiences in life, like this spark that you talk about, that helps them understand kind of what that true north is and where that niche is. Clearly, my recommendation to you is going to have to be you got to follow what your entrepreneurial DNA is telling you to pursue and go after. I'd like to think that it's not a mutually exclusive thing to where you can pursue your major in there and maybe minor in some other things, but at the end of the day, you got to pursue what that passion is. I think you're going to regret it if you don't. Really do. So, in the business world, in the entrepreneur world, we call that calculated risk, not blind risk. You don't put the blindfold on and just say, I'm just going to walk and see what I run into. You try to take information, you try to calculate the level of risk involved. I think the difference for those that are part of that entrepreneurial 10th versus those that probably won't take that step is what that risk ratio needs to be or is before they decide to take a step. My financial advisor, when I do all my risk profiles to figure out how risk averse I am, I'm basically, off the chart. Like I'm saying, hey, if it's going to produce some gains down the road, I know I might lose it all, but let's do it. And I'm just a step short of going to the casinos with my retirement fund, okay? But that's kind of the nature with things. Whereas other people, it has all the information has to line up 100% before they move. And the thing about business is so dynamic. There's so much uncertainty involved in it that it's very rare will you find somebody who's that risk averse, who's successful in entrepreneurship, because you have to have that. And I had somebody ask me, Kyle, they say, well, if that's not me inherently, if I know that in my DNA I don't do well with risk, what do I do in that case? And this goes back to the team, right? This goes back to having a team approach. It goes back to, I think sometimes you can help change some of these habits and some of these things. So I told this person, I said, pick something in your life that you otherwise wouldn't be risky on, that doesn't have a tremendous downfall, and try to be more risky in that area and see if that works out well for you. But Kyle, I don't get the impression from talking to you, a guy that would get up in a plane and let it drop, okay, to be too concerned about risk, okay? Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have gotten in the plane at all. Or unless you say he was the one up there crying before he got in the plane. Was he that one? Oh, okay. I think there are tremendous opportunities. I think there's no better time than now to be an entrepreneur. I think our nation recognizes the value of entrepreneurs, and we're trying our best to figure out how do we best position ourselves. I know a lot of those regulations are trying to change and loosen up for allow entrepreneurs to be successful, but I think many of those regulations are also geared towards big business, and over time, I think some of those regulations will start to change some. But the thing about being an entrepreneur, people can talk, if you decide or somebody decides not to start a business because of the economic or the political environment, chances are they may not have what they need to be able to persevere and get through the challenges of being an entrepreneur, having a business. I tell people it's the hardest job in the world to be an entrepreneur. I've been a professor, I've been in the military, I've experienced some things there. I've been a single father, experienced a few things, and there's been nothing harder than trying to start a business and have it be successful. So If you can make it work, then it doesn't matter what the taxes are, it doesn't matter what the regulations are, you're going to find an opportunity to make something work. Now, our political environment, that's a whole nother story for another day, okay? So I teach entrepreneurship mainly to grad students. And in my entrepreneurship class, I have my students, they have to start a business using no more than $10. And their grade at the end is dependent on how much money they make, if they're a for-profit business, or if they decide to do something in a not-for-profit space, their grade is dependent on how much of an impact that they make. Now, after about half the students drop the class, okay, what we go through in that time period is them understanding about business plans, them understanding about financial worksheets, them understanding about marketing that I can talk to them in class, but then they have to go out there and actually apply that and use it and make it work for them, get results. So I'm using that to kind of answer your question. If the type of programs that are offered are programs similar like that allow you not just to sit in the classroom and learn it, but allow you to actually apply it, then I would encourage you to take as many of those as you possibly can, because they're very, very valuable. But I also know that there's sometimes in certain situations where you don't have that opportunity to apply those things in that manner, and so you want to kind of think about it in that way as well. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate your time. Chance is getting ready to kick me out of here, okay?